There are tons of exotics in Destiny 2, over 100, and even more ways to build each and every one. But some exotics are better than others. Or are they?
Let's make a build with every single one at a time. This is Destiny Builds A to Z. Arbor Warden states, using your class ability channels defensive light inward, providing a grenade that creates a barricade on impact. What this essentially is doing is you're using your class ability, that gets now sent into your grenade slot, and when you use your grenade slot, aka your LB on controller or whatever you use to throw your grenade, that'll throw a barricade instead, and this will inherit all the properties that your barricade does as well. For our subclass, we're going with Void. For quite a few reasons, it's going to be a very defensive subclass. It's going to allow us to stay alive in even harder content where there's not too much healing, like the Nether. So, we're going with the Sentinel Shield Super. You can swap this out for any you prefer. I just happen to like it the most. It's something that I just have an attachment to. But for range bosses, Twilight Arsenal does wonders, as well as for the defensive super, you can use Ward of Dawn. However, it has gone through quite a few nerfs. For our abilities, we're going to go with Rally Barricade. And this one, we're actually going to choose primarily because of its base cooldown of 38 seconds versus Towering Barricade, which has a minute and 10 seconds. This is going to allow us to use our class ability that much quicker, and we're just going for as fast of a recharge as we possibly can on that, as this build focuses entirely around casting our subclass ability as often as possible. Jump is entirely up to you. I just prefer Strafe Lift. I'm going with the Shield Throw melee. You can choose whichever you prefer here, and there is an actual tactic you can deploy here where you can kind of throw a barricade at something, and that will ensure that you have an Overshield, which will enhance your melee damage with one of our aspects, and then you can immediately go into a Shield Bash on that target and basically guarantee that extra damage on there. But I just prefer Shield Throw for its consistency, the fact that it's a ranged melee, and will also get Overshield on enemies being hit. For our grenade, I have Suppressor Grenade. This is to be able to handle a additional champion type for endgame content. However, for most content in the game, I would say that Vortex Grenade is totally fine and is a little bit more consistent and makes your grenade actually worth using, more so than the Suppressor Grenade. For our aspects, we're going with Bastion, where when we cast our super, we'll grant Overshield to nearby allies. However, the primary reason we're going with this is casting your barricade grants Overshield to yourself and nearby allies and empowers it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the Overshield of allies, bunkering behind it, and extend their Overshield duration. So, using Arbor Warden and Bastion, when we throw our barricade, we'll immediately give our allies and ourselves, if we're close enough, a full Overshield, which Bungie has been buffing and buffing and buffing lately, and has gotten very strong to the point where it's basically double health as well as some damage resist on top, and it'll also regen your Void Overshield while you're standing behind it, and this will combo well with our weapon choices as well. Our next aspect is Offensive Bulwark, and this is going to combo with our first aspect for while you have an Overshield or inside Ward of Dawn, your grenade charges significantly faster. You have increased melee range and damage, and melee final blows restore a small portion of your Overshield and extend its duration. You gain an additional shield throughout well in Sentinel Shield, comboing with our super choice. So the main reason we want this one is for that while we have an Overshield, we'll get that increased grenade recharge. And we'll also have that increased melee range and damage that I talked about previously. So you can use this, however, you can also, if you so choose, go with Controlled Demolition if you want to be using your abilities a little bit more frequently and cause enemies to explode rather than going with the enhanced regen that I'm going with. For our fragments, we're going with Echo of Persistence, which will allow our Void buffs, Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour, to have increased duration. So this will take our Devour to be way longer duration, as well as our Overshields are going to basically have extended health to them, as well as will last longer when they're not being hit. Next we have Echo Starvation. Picking up a Void Breach or an Overpower will grant us Devour. This is going to be our primary form of survivability besides the Overshield. This will make it so we have constant health regen, as well as helping our grenade and other abilities recharge quicker. Echo of Cessation. Finisher final blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile. However, really why we're going with this, where defeating volatile targets creates a void breach, which will synergize with our previous fragment, which allowed us to get Devour off of those. Lastly, Echo of Vigilance. Defeating a target where your shields are depleted grants you a temporary void overshield. So this is kind of our get out of jail free card. If you're ever in red health whatsoever, your shields are broken, you can kill something, and that will not only, usually proc Devour and give you some health back, but also give you an overshield at the same time. This just feels like it's a full health regen every single time that this procs. So if your shield's broken, you're just right back up to full with this and Devour. For our weapons, our exotic of choice is actually going to be Conditional Finality, but this is just primarily for champion stunning. So this is going to make it so that our first shot with it is going to cause the enemy to freeze, which can handle unstoppable champions, as well as if you miss a couple of pellets, can be able to handle overload champions with its slow. And then you can also fire the next volley for it to be a solar explosion, which again will help us with unstoppable champions. Then our primary, we're going with Riposte, but you can choose anything that has this perk combo. It's really, really powerful with this build specifically. So with Repulsor Brace, when you defeat a Void debuff target, you'll get an Overshield, and that'll proc all of our Void Overshield aspects and fragments. And then we also have Destabilizing Rounds on here, which recently buffed. Well, when you defeating a target creates a Void Burst, hitting other targets with this burst makes them volatile and grants you Volatile Rounds for a short duration. So this is massively powerful these days, and actually counts as a debuff, which will proc Repulsor Brace for us. So this is just a perfectly synergizing weapon. There are so many weapons in the game that I'll put on screen here now. It's probably just scrolling by of how many weapons actually have this combination at this point. I just prefer the Riposte. You don't have to use this thing. I know it's from comp, but you can also get a great one is the auto rifle from Garden of Salvation if you want to follow a lightweight / 720 RPM auto rifle. And lastly, for our heavy, I just wanted something that can just do some burst damage and wanted to keep it to void damage so we can synergize with our mods, which is Tomorrow's Answer, and I have Explosive Light on here. You can go, again, with any really power weapon that you want to. It's mainly that primary weapon that we're synergizing so much with. For our mods, we have 2 Harmonic Siphon mods. This is going to make it so that every void weapon kill, I believe it's every 3 or so, will create a orb for us, and we can pick that up, and that's going to proc Devour for us, as well as proc some healing, etc. We also have a hands-on mod. If you're going with the Vortex Grenade or just want to go into your grenade, you can swap out hands-on for a grenade focus mod that will get bonus super energy for. Then on our gauntlets, we have Bolstering Detonation. This is going to grant us class ability energy when we cause damage with a grenade. Then we have Causing Damage with a powered melee attack, reduces your grenade. And then we have Causing Damage with a grenade, reduces your melee cooldown. This just gives us a perfect little loop where all of our abilities are just feeding into each other every time we use them, which is going to allow our ability regen to just feel very potent as we're just constantly using everything and everything's constantly back up as we use it. Then on our chest, I have a Harmonic Resistance mod and a Arc Resistance mod. You can change these 2 out for whatever you need for the given situation. If you're going up against Solar very frequently, like in the dungeon or Stasis or anything like that, feel free to swap these out. Then we also have a Charged Up mod, which is to increase the maximum stacks of armor charge we can carry by 1, making it instead of 3 into 4. On our boots, we have Insulation. This is going to reduce our class ability cooldown each time we pick up an Orb of Power, making it just a little bit more consistent, so we have it nearly all the time. And then Orbs of Restoration. This is going to, again, just kind of keep that ability loop going for us, where when we pick up an Orb of Power, it'll grant the small amount of energy to your ability with the least energy. So if anything's just lagging behind the other ones, you can use this as a little pick-me-up. Then we have Stacks and Stacks, where when we pick up an Orb of Power, it'll grant us 1 additional stack of armor charge, raising that from 1 to 2. So we only need 2 orbs in order to get to max armor charge. Then we're spending that armor charge on our class ability here with 2 utility kickstart mods, where when your class ability energy is fully expended, your armor charge is consumed and you gain class ability energy for each armor charge used. And I'll have the community notes at the top of the screen right now. But essentially this is going to make it so that when we do use our class ability or just consume it by using Arbor Wardens, it'll make it so that our cooldown is reduced by around 20% every single time that we're going to be using this. As far as our stat priorities go, since it is a class ability build, but luckily for us, we are Titans, so we can go with 100 resilience. So we want to prioritize our resilience at the absolute max, keep that at 100, and then we're also going to then go for our grenade, then our melee, then our super. Recovery is not really too important to us here. It's a nice little passive benefit, but Devour and the Overshield stuff that we have going on is so powerful that you won't feel this stat working pretty much at all. So I would say it's right on the lower priority as mobility and recovery, just right alongside each other at the bottom of our priority list. To quickly go over our build chart, just to show off the synergy a little bit, when you use your barricade with Arbor Warden, you'll get Overshields. Those Overshields will give you increased melee and grenade regen. And then also when you use your melee, you'll get Overshields, which just keeps that cycle going. When you use your grenade, you can stun Overload champions. Then, with your Repulsor Brace and Volatile Round weapon of your choice, when you get a kill, that'll also proc Devour, which gives us even more grenade regen. And with Volatile Rounds, you'll be able to handle barrier champions. And lastly, we're taking Conditional Finality in our weapon section for those unstoppable champions. So this build can handle all of those types. You'll have incredible ability regen, and you'll be able to save your teammates. It's just a lot of fun, very synergistic, and just feels like you constantly have everything. Thank you so much for making it to the end. If you enjoyed the video, liking the video helps out a boatload, and subscribe to stay a while for more builds and reviews like this one. Thank you so much for watching, and keep on building.